Hello and welcome to another video. Me and my coffee and my burnt sienna pigment powder are back, and today we're going to be discussing pinning and positioning models to bases. It's going to be a quick one, and I'm going to give you a few simple things to make this way easier. This is just the sequence that I have worked out is kind of the easiest and the most efficient, but also the best for making it convenient for me to make my models face the right way. And you may say, well, what's the right way? Very often on bases, and the more varied your bases are, the more of a thing this is, there's going to be an ideal angle for you to put your mini on. Now, if everything has its feet in exactly the same, spacing and position and size, perhaps that matters less. But the moment you've got anything walking or standing or backflipping or tactical rocking, as every other bloody miniature seems to be these days, sidetrack, I don't approve. It becomes more important. So with these simple tricks, we're going to teach you how to make it so you can align things perfectly. These will stay on their bases forever like this. And it can also make it more convenient to paint your minis separately or do the pigments on their feet separately or something like that, which you should, not on their bases, because you'll get pulling, by the way. So let's jump in. You will need a very simple list of equipment. Here is a tiny amount of blue tack. I have chopped up a paper clip. For those of you wondering, do not use your very good clippers, or especially your single blade nippers. On this, you want to use your rough, tough, heavy duty ones. And before we even get things, there are some things you can do to make it easier. Make sure you clip the right amount. So I'll show you pinning in a second, but as far as clipping these goes, put it in, and then your clippers, if you cut flat side towards it, they'll make it flat. If you cut this way, they'll make it slightly pointier. And that can be really useful if you're trying to poke through stuff. So it also makes it sharper, so be careful that that little deadly, almost like screwdriver head that we formed at the end there, that is going to press into this cork or green stuff or whatever way better. And it's helpful. If you cut off a completely flat one, it can tear the cork on the way down. So hopefully that's something that you haven't considered that can already make your life way more simple. Set that to the side. All right, your tools for pinning. Now, depending on the size of whatever you're using, if you're using paperclip, it's normal to use a 1mm bit or like a 0.8 bit. You can just measure that against your paperclip. I'm going to use a hand tool, but you can use one of the electrical ones. They do go pretty fast, pretty easily. I prefer this, especially for plastic, and I find this more than enough. If you are going to use one of those magical sticks, then maybe I'd use something like this for the pilot hole, at the very least, when you're more in control and things go less fast. So it's up to you. Choosing where. Let's talk about dry fitting. So I'm already bearing in mind where my mini is going to go on the base. This isn't the final version of it, but I want at least to consider it. I think for this mini, that position looks way better than anything else. This bit's kind of visually pleasing and it's open. His feet fit with the pattern of the base, and this stripe here is between his legs that just looks really cool too. Something to bear in mind is, let's say you're going to have a foot overhanging part of the base. You don't want the rod to be viewable at any point, so make sure you're considering where that is and if it's going to be hidden. Also, if you have an overhang, you want it going through as much of your base as possible, and you don't want it to show out the bottom of that. So that's worth considering too. So have a think about where things are going. By far the easiest thing you can do is just don't try and imagine it, just put it where it's going to be. The same goes for lining up your intended placement for where it's going to go. We've all been there. What you do not want is to start pinning through a good place at the bottom without considering where it's going to go at the top, and then ending up with your drill bit appearing normally in this little gap here on top of the foot going up into his shin. That's awful. So starting point, take a sharp knife, place it in, make a small hole, and then from that point kind of mime or like take a practice and have a look at where things are going to end up. Plastic is the easiest material to do this in, but it's pretty much the same in resin. So I'll go through the motions here. Pick initial point. Twiddle it around a little. Then put your bit on that point and just check out going straight up or at an angle if you think that's required for some reason, where it's going to end up. So this one there, it's more helpful for me to be on the inside of his foot, because then that's going to keep me further away from the outside of his leg. And we don't want this busting out of there. Looking pretty good. Brace it on my palm. And then you just do that until you're good to go. Try not to put this in angle. These are pretty hard, but they're also quite brittle. It's the nature of drill bits. Okay, why do I have different lengths of this here? The reason is I want to get my placement on the rock absolutely perfect. So we're going to place them spiky side out. Remember, we made a spiky side and a flat side because we considered things with our clippers. I just impaled myself slightly. We know it's spiky. Take care. Then what you can do is if these are faffing you about, you can just attach them with a little bit of blue tack. Sometimes that's easiest by just literally pressing it through the blue tack. Why I'm doing this and why I'm using these little short ones will become evident very soon. I had difficulties locating the hole. You can do one foot and then the other. It can make things easier. It's really important that these are not too long because it makes it way harder to be accurate with it. Okay. If you can't press them in without impaling yourself, just use something else to press in. All right, they're now not going to fall out. That's really helpful. And we can find our golden angle or best position. Now I can remember it being about here. Look at it from above, consider it from all angles. And then with these little pilot ones in, press down one of them, so it's the heel, and then consider things carefully. And we're going to lock him in position here. Now these aren't our forever ones, but we can take a final look and we could shuffle a little bit as long as it's still going to remain hidden under the foot. I think this position is pretty good. Really like where he is, really like where the line was before. You take it out, you might end up with these stuck in that at this point, but we no longer have any guesswork to do because we've got two perfect pilot holes. With it being cork, I can pretty much just press in, but you could go all the way through to the plastic at the bottom of the base if you want to be more secure. Now you're ready to swap over for the longer ones, remove the blue tack and use glue. If you're going to do painting of your model, I'd recommend you paint it off the base generally, including putting pigments on for blending at the end. So I can pretty much just dry fit these now to check that they work. Much longer than we were. This one's a bit wiggly. Let's see if things line up. This feels pretty secure. So what I'd recommend is that if you're doing painting, you can just glue these pins in here. I'll show you how we do that. And then you can move it between a cork or whatever. I tend to paint mine just plastic glue to temporary bases, and that works out really well for me. We can see one here. This is an old base I've chopped to be even smaller, and it's on one of our discs for our eggs. So I paint things like that, and then when I'm pretty much totally finished, then I'd pin. I tend to use thick super glue in this way, but you can dribble thinner super glue on or around or in. It's just, it carries some risks. And the risks for me are that it'll end up just like creeping its way somewhere unexpected. Okay, so I'm actually going to use it spiky side up so I can press it into the bottom, scoop up a little bit of that thick super glue, take away the little string, then press it quite hard into the base of the foot. Same again, and then if you want to press it in even further, press down hard here. Don't press it in the base if you want it to dry separately because some glue might leak down. So I'll just leave him to dry and he'll be good to go. So how I would continue painting this if people are curious. One of our eggs, they're excellent. Pop the cork in, and then I'll just press it into here. That's a really secure bond. There's a chance that when you pull it out, the bond, or like the friction of the cork will pinch the pins so well that they end up coming out the feet, but you can just repeat the super glue process. There we go. I should have let him dry more thoroughly, shouldn't I? But yeah, be more patient than me. or use more glue. So I've scooped up more and I've twisted it around there like it's cotton candy on the ends, get as much as possible, press it in, and I'm really going to press it in hard this time. Using clippers like this is a really useful tool for this. Keep it in there. You can see this little bubble and bulge of glue. That's why you don't want to press it into your something else unless you're ready for this to become permanently attached to its forever base, because it can be a very, very strong bond with super glue, especially on cork. Either of these corks, that is, so I'll let it dry completely. So let's remind ourselves of the final result of that. I was just putting a mini on a base, but positioning is so important. It's really, really amazing to me that you can get such a benefit out of, you know, this is going to take you 1 minute. If you spend 2 minutes doing it, you can make your mini look better for free. And I think that's brilliant. So here it is, it's the end result. We've already done this tutorial for using of pigments on this guy's base. Got a very fundamentals tutorial about that. Be somewhere, there'll probably be a little playlist that's our basing playlist. And yeah, blue guy plus pigments on base looks very good. The only thing remaining for us is to add some pigments lower down on this model to increase the connection between him and his base. He looks a little bit like he's just fallen out of the sky onto it, which I guess he could have literally done, but I want to make sure that he's visually tied with this far more strongly than he is currently, so that there's not like base, separation, guy. I want this guy to be from this world. So that should be achievable. We just need to take some very, very simple steps in order to do that. If you've got any questions about this, or you've got any recommendations on how you do it, pop them down below. And if you'd like to see a similar hobby basic covered in a future video, pop your suggestions down below. This is a medium egg, by the way, and for me, it's my favorite size.